So let's talk about some of the biggest changes that this movie made from the original animated from '92. The biggest one, the most obvious one, and I think the best one was how they updated Jasmine.
Oh my gosh, Naomi Scott, praises, girl, praises. I loved her. Her voice is awesome. Like, the girl can sing, which I don't want to hate on like Emma Watson or anything, but
you're gonna.
In Beauty and the Beast, there was some auto-tunage, to say the least, and I don't know, Naomi Scott's singing was like clear as a bell. Also, I just thought that they just did such a better job with Jasmine as a character. I mean, she gets her own song in this one.
Yeah, brand new song.
Speechless, and she's just, you can just see that she's like this powerful young woman, and she has a way with words, and she's intelligent, and I loved her. I love Jasmine. Can you guys tell? I loved her.
Yeah, I could tell you loved her.
Yeah.
And I loved her too. You get more of her point of view, her perspective, especially on wanting to lead. I never really thought of her as being, not that she couldn't lead, but she's never expressed that in the original animated movie. So I'm glad that we got to see, like, hey, I could be a sultan. I could lead, which is right. I mean, hey, we've had queens in the past, Queen Elizabeth, all that. I mean, of course she can lead, but I just never thought about that. And then it kind of puts Aladdin to the side. It's like, you're not that important in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is funny because in the original it was more about him, but in this one it's like, I think this is actually Jasmine's story.
Yeah, no, this movie I think was more than anybody else's movie. It was Jasmine's movie, and it was like Jasmine's movie. Then maybe it was the genie's movie, and then it was kind of Aladdin's movie down at the end, which I think sort of speaks to how familiar we are with that type of character arc that Aladdin is going on. Like, this guy who's like has to prove his worth, and for Jasmine for the movie to lean into Jasmine wanting to become Sultan and not being heard as a woman in that world. To lean into that the way that they did, I thought was a great choice. It made her a really interesting character. On top of the fact that Naomi Scott, I think, was for sure it was her and Will Smith were the strong points of this movie, and everybody else was just kind of also there.
Yeah,
and small nod, but I really liked the dad. Because Sultan was kind of a big bumbling fool, even though he's under, but I like this dad seemed like he's a little smarter. A little sharper.
Yes. Oh my
than the
gosh.
Disney dad. So I like his version better.
Yeah, I like the Sultan too. Hate to be a hater here, but
you're gonna.
Jafar is hot.
Sure.
But I don't know. He wasn't villainous enough for me. He didn't have like that swagger that a villain has. And
Can we quickly sidebar about villain voices and how they cannot be high pitched?
Yes, I was just gonna say.
He went a little high.
I mean, his voice is what it is, right? I mean, it's his voice. It's fine. But for Jafar to be trying to be menacing up in this register, I'm like, no. Not even a little bit.
That was a good impression.
Hey, thanks.
But it was not.
Yeah,
you sounded like the German guy from Indiana Jones. You sounded like that. You sounded like
that's actually really.
It worked for him. That worked for him. That worked.
Like Weasley henchman number one. Yeah. Sure. Give me that squirrely high pitched henchman. But like for the main villain, like it needs to be menacing and it needs to be gravelly and it needs to have some gravitas like the original Jafar had. I think. Like that was the one. Like I don't want to get get my panties in a bunch about them changing the original or the original was better and how could you do this in the new one? But I will about Jafar's voice.
Yeah.
It was a thing that bugged the living crap out of me.
But a pro that I wish they would have gone more into is they gave Jafar a little bit of a backstory when he was talking to Aladdin about, hey, I know where you come from. I was just like you. I used to be a thief, and then actually seeing Jafar go in the streets, put his hood up, and get a little dirty, as it were, and steal back the lamp. I like that. I like that character development with him. I wish we got a little bit more of that, but I think that was something different from the original too.
And Tom Jorgensen, who reviewed the movie for us on the site, he made a really good point about that's one thing that I wanted more of from this movie is more of that new stuff. Because more of Jafar as a former street rat having that dynamic with Aladdin. More of what they did with Naomi Scott's Jasmine. More of all the new stuff was great, and more of the new song too. The new song felt a little out of place because it was the only new song, right? And it was very
modern.
Very modern. Yeah. It was very Frozen as opposed to the right. As opposed to that early 90s Disney animation musical.
If they do any of these updates, like granted, this is a random story, but I was watching something with one of my cousins. I think it was Little Mermaid 3 or something, some new interpretation of the story.
You can, it's fine. You can just watch.
I was watching it at home on a Friday night. I had nothing else to do. I'm quite lonely.
Yeah.
No, but I'm not. But sometimes I am. Okay, we're gonna keep going. So no, we're gonna keep going. We're not cutting that out. There was a part though. One of Ariel's sisters said something like drama, and I was just like, oh, they don't say drama in Ariel's world, but because it's modern, they have to update some things. And that song felt updated, but you're right, Clint. Next to all the other songs that we remember from that era, it felt a little off.
And that's sort of
a great song, though.
Yeah, it was a great song. And that's sort of part of the conversation is like how much of that, like even if it feels a little out of place, do you just deal with it feeling out of place, or do you update the whole thing? You know, I know you have to include, a whole new world, and you have to include Prince Ali and all of these famous songs but I think they updated some of those songs in ways that sort of felt more modern.
And Will put some of his spin on the Genie songs, and even the dancing felt a lot more modern. I love the choreography of all the dancing.
Yeah. Too. But I feel like they leaned a little bit into updating it, but not quite as much as I wanted them to.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be more different than the original the Aladdin than it actually was.
I have an interesting question. So with menace, I mean, I thought that he was charming and he was cute and he bantered so well with Will Smith, like the whole jam scene when he was just tripping all over himself and Will Smith is like, just stop. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, that scene was so cute, but I don't know if it was the writing or if it was his acting, but it was just like, when I watched the original Aladdin, I talked to you about this earlier, what I loved about Aladdin was that he was so cocky, but then so insecure at the same time. Like, he would always like be like, yeah, I got the swagger and I'm like super cool. But then you'd see these like super, super vulnerable moments with him where he just like seemed so lost. And with Mena, I never felt that cockiness or that like charm. And I don't know if they tried to like take that out in the writing or if it was just not translated. Maybe that's just me. Like,
yeah, it's hard to say, right? Because meanwhile he's standing next to Will Smith, who's just killing it.
Large
and they amped up Jasmine's role.
And a Will Smith that probably wasn't in the same room with him while he was doing it because he was a CG something or other. So there was no telling what he was acting against.
That's a good point. Everybody's character, they added Jafar got a little bit more to do. The genie, Will Smith got to have some fun. Jasmine had a bigger story. Of all the characters, they didn't really do as much with Aladdin. They didn't expand his story at all. So I think maybe they could have given him a little more of a backstory. Show him as a kid or something. They could have done something.
Yeah.
Poor Aladdin.
I know.
He'll always
he's not poor now. He's not poor now.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing all right.
He moved up in the world.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
He's married to the Sultan.
Yeah, he's the first gentleman of Agrabah.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Good for him.
I also wanted to see more of Iago.
Iago was... Yeah, I think so.
Really? You were good with the Iago
I was good with the amount of Iago. I think much more Iago.
He's such good banter in the original with Jafar. Like
but they couldn't really do it because like they were already towing the line of like, all right, like how smart is this bird?
Okay, you're right. You're right.
As soon as it becomes live action,
he's a sorcerer's bird. What are you talking about?
Right.
Alan Tudyk was great.
Yeah. Tudyk, of course. Tudyk.
I want to see more of
him. It's a Disney movie, and there's an animated character that needs a voice, so Tudyk's going to be there.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was good. I thought they used him the right amount, bordering on a little too much, honestly.
Okay.
Because that bird was literally everywhere.
Yes.
Oh my God, I loved him.
Every scene opened with the bird, like,
the ultimate spy,
and then he would fly away and.
I don't know. I felt like there was just not the banter that he had in the original.
No, there for sure wasn't.
Yeah.
And I don't think they should have had it.
That hurt. It hurt me.
It hurt you?
I was like, the nostalgia bug in me was like waiting for it. A nostalgia bug?
Sure.
What the hell did I mean there? You
know
what
real.
I mean? Like
That's fine.
Jackie's inner child is like, I can't wait for them to talk.
Your inner child's in there battling the nostalgia bug?
Yeah, I don't even, let's just pretend that didn't happen. Cut, editor, cut that out. Also, Dahlia. I've mentioned her a couple times. Like, she was hilarious.
She's a brand new character.
Yeah.
The Handmaiden.
Billy Magnuson's alternate prince.
Oh, he was great too.
That was great.
Yeah.
Super funny. He was there for a cup of coffee, but man, he was funny.
He was.
Yeah. It was just a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be, to be honest. So,
well, good.
Go see it. Okay. Go see the movie, guys. Go see it.
All right, well, that's what we thought about the movie Aladdin. So are you excited for it? Tell us in the comment section. And do not forget to follow and subscribe to IGN. See ya.